Okay, let's try this. So how old are you guys? This is 11th grade, 16, 17, okay. So I'm here to tell you about the time my dog might have saved my life when I was about 3 years older than you. So I got some subtitles here. Mild depression in high school. Since high school, I had in fact been experiencing what I now know as mild depression. I didn't know it was that at the time because I didn't know such a thing existed. I only knew that I had a tendency to be a bit moody. I would sometimes have a moment where I lashed out at a friend or responded in a negative way and noticed that my friends could be turned off by me. One time when I was around 14, I was in the car with my mom. I remember having felt bad all week. Mom, my head feels weird. Like you have a headache? Can you take some Tylenol when we get home? No, it's not a headache. It's something different. I was confused. Since it was an anomaly, and I didn't have the language for it, I only tried to fit it into categories of headaches and bad moods, no matter how much it was clearly something else. College. In my first 2 years of college, I was happy. I had friends. I was doing well in school. And then a series of unfortunate events made me feel a bit lonely and lost. Meanwhile, I had been deep into planning to hike the entire Appalachian Trail from Georgia to Maine, which would take 6 months. But before my trip began, my parents sat me down and told me they had an amazing opportunity for me to intern at Miramax, and that the hike was not a good idea because I needed to spend my time setting up for a career after college. By the way, this has nothing to do with sexual assault, if you're wondering about Miramax. Okay, 2 people got that. So we fought a lot over this, and in the end, I agreed to take the internship. But the experience of feeling powerless tipped me over the edge, and right around the first week of the internship, I slipped into a state of incredible anxiety. At first, I thought the people I worked with were annoyed that I was working there. Eventually, I found myself completely paranoid, looking over the cubicle to see where they were, assuming they were talking about me and how horrible I was. Around the third week of the internship, I struggled more than I ever have in my entire life to get out of bed. I was so tired, beyond tired. I stopped eating lunch with the others that I worked with and started eating in the park by myself. I did anything I could to avoid everyone and assumed the whole world hated me. I didn't know where this tremendous insecurity came from, and I didn't question its validity. My parents. That weekend, I explained to my parents how I was feeling. I started by sharing that I felt really down, but that I felt this way because of the way the world actually is, and that I had become aware of that the world was meaningless. I didn't realize at the time that I saw the world this way because of my depression. My mom started to cry. I didn't raise you to think this way, and why is this happening, is all she could say. Looking back, my parents weren't cruel or inconsiderate, just confused like me. A week or two went by and the feelings didn't get worse, but became constant and all-consuming. One night, early in the evening, I lay in my bed, tossing and turning. My mind, not my physical body, not my brain, like a headache, could not feel anything but anguish, terrible thoughts, either a feeling that everything was meaningless in a bad way or that I was worthless. And no matter which way I lurched, I ran into my horrible thoughts. I turned over and sat up. I thought long and hard. Was this pain ever going to end? Would it just be better to end it right now? And right at that moment, my dog, a black lab mix named Margie, burst open the door and jumped on my bed. She wasn't really a lap dog, more just a crazy dog that liked to play fetch, if anyone has a dog like that. But there she was, lying with me, licking me and pawing me and snuggling and on top of me, and then more licking. And I was struck by how she had never been this way. And then more licking until I smiled for the first time in weeks. And then she just lied there next to me. And I decided to put the idea of giving up aside for at least a little while. I actually never thought about it again. So the definition of depression, for me. There are actually several different types of depression and ways that people experience depression. But anyone who has experienced full-blown depression will tell you that depression is not just sadness, as we heard. It's not even sadder sadness. It's pure nihilism. It's feeling that there's no meaning, no purpose to this world, and that, most of all, you have no purpose to this world. No one commits suicide because they want to die or they're a bad person. They do it because they want the pain to stop, and they haven't figured out how to get help. Or for some, they know what they can do to help themselves. Talk to someone, seek out help. They just do not have the energy or the strength to take those steps because of the numbness that comes with depression. When I had depression, I knew something was wrong, yet I didn't seek help. And I didn't have someone like myself now, to help guide me through the process. So in my 30s, I had become a husband and a father of 2 boys and an English teacher at one of the best high schools in the country. And although it had been 10 to 15 years since my bout with depression, I still struggled with the mild kind, especially in a place like this where the pressure is on to be your best, even for teachers. Yet I continued to try and go it alone. To try harder, failed. Mild depression continually keeping me down, hoping things would get better, or worse, assuming that I would be this way forever, that my only choice was to accept this. I worried that if I saw a therapist or took medication, I was admitting weakness, differentness, weirdness. But finally, I went to Mr. Hodling, who suggested I not only see a therapist, but shop for one. Shop for one? What do you mean, shop for one? Yeah, you can find a therapist, he said, that is just right for you. Think about what you like, what you want in someone that could potentially listen to your problems, and then meet with different therapists, kind of like dating, and see who's a good fit. I called up the local office and asked if they had anyone that was really good at talking back, not just listening, someone that gave good advice. Oh yeah, I know just the person, the receptionist said, and a week later I sat across from Heather. We immediately bonded, and I ended up seeing her almost every week for an entire year. She talked a lot, and that worked for me. As an English teacher, I assumed that I had already done a lot of reflection, but I learned that examining the behavior of fictional characters didn't mean I had examined myself. At first, I experienced small revelations, then major ones, and one day I cried hard. And Heather said, "No, this is great. This is big." So, what has the therapist helped me with? First, self-talk. We think it's external, negative opinions of others that get in our way. And then even knowing it's in us doesn't help because we are convinced that what it's saying is true, and not just a voice that we choose to listen to. Heather, a professional, helped me spot the voices, what they were saying, and how to be with them and let them pass. Just the act of intentionally meeting with a therapist made my whole way of being more committed to a healthy self. I changed my diet and exercise, and I've lost 25 pounds in the last year. I spend more time with my kids, and have spent the year obtaining a better work-life balance. Just the act of intentionally meeting with a therapist encouraged me to make hard decisions and demand what I wanted and needed in the face of all the other people around you that ask you for things. Several people have commented on how I've changed and appear to be more confident. The big change is that I used to apologize for just being. Apologize, not literally, but in my tone for all my ideas. I would phrase everything as a question. In the last few months, I have doubled my confidence, and that is absolutely because I found a therapist who I trusted and really listened to me. I could not have done it on my own. She gave me strategies for dealing with others and ways to listen and be with myself, and I didn't know on my own. The therapist also helped me gain the courage to take medicine. When I think of names like Wellbutrin or Zoloft, I think of a dystopian future where our minds are controlled by the government and we are forced to be automatons moving through the day without thought. My fear was that if I take antidepressants, I will lose my creativity and individuality. So my breakthrough, ironically, was putting those feelings aside and letting go of this attachment to the way I thought things had to be. In a sense, I had to choose my well-being over my principle of doing it on my own and being tough. I also found that the medication helps me be more open to positive thinking and finding the joys in life rather than focusing on the negatives and what is not right in my life or the world. I now view antidepressants as no different than someone with asthma using an inhaler or someone with diabetes using insulin. So I'll close with this, some lessons. Depression, number one, depression can come on at any time, and or it can be a very slow buildup. For me, it was kind of both at different times. Many friends and family who have, many friends and family who have never been through depression will not know what to think and assume you're being weak or lazy. Do not listen to them. Number three, negative self-talk is hard to combat because you don't even know it's self-talk. It's hard to even distinguish the voice at all and what it's saying without professional help. I should clarify, that's in my experience, obviously not hers, who spoke in the TED Talk. Number four, get help and don't give up on finding good help. You are worth it. If you don't know where to run or turn, we have good people right in our community, student services team, who know how to get you to the right person to support you. I'm here too. And number five, we have to own our story in order to write our own ending. And number six, get a dog. And don't get a cat. Cats are stupid. I want to just end on this last point, that the funniest thing in all of this is that I only recently had the courage to share my story, and almost every time I do, the person I'm telling my story to says, "Oh yeah, I have a therapist too." Thanks.